Well, I thought I'd do a little review on a new toy that I just got today. I have been playing around with amps, and I had recently bought an OM 2000 amp, and I didn't care for it. It's a lot of power, but it was really noisy, and I wish I'd read more about it before I got it. But I'm close to Paris, Texas, where MTC Radio is, and Richard is now the distributor for the Expert line amp. So I decided I'd see about if he'd make me a trade deal. And he made me a great trade deal on a SPE Taurus amp, one of the new LD Moss amps. And when I went to look a couple days ago on some reviews on specifically the Taurus amp, I couldn't find any. There were plenty on all the other SPE amps, and in the past I'd seen some issues with people blowing the finals in the ones with the MOSFETs. So this one here has the LD Moss amps transistors in it, which are the same thing my Mercury Lux has, which I also have. You can't have enough amps. But anyhow, so I drove down this morning and carried my OM 2000A Plus amp to Richard, and I traded on this SPE amp. Now, he put the plug on it for me last night and made me a heck of a trade. I can't say enough good about Richard MCT Trading Company. Now, I have already unboxed this thing and set it up, but I wanted to show you how it comes. It comes packed just like this. It's got a carrying case. I'm not sure I'd ever use it. The amp weighs, I think it's 21 and some change, so it's 22 pounds, call it. And so I guess you could carry it portable if you wanted to. And I'm filming this on iPhone, so I'm gonna do the best I can. But this is the bag that it came in, and like I say, I've already set the amp up. But it's a nice bag. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Let me open it up here. Okay, and like I say, I'm recording this on an iPhone, but you can see the inside. It's padded, and there's a pocket in here for some odds and ends. They had the air filter in there, which I installed, and you get a full set of plugs and a push-to-talk cable. You get 3 DB15 plugs and 1 DB9 plug, and they were all stuffed in this pocket. So anyhow, I'm gonna walk over to the amp and we'll pick up there. Okay, so I got a real messy shack, I can tell you that right now, and it didn't look quite as bad as it does now until I started doing all this wiring. You can see I got a Flex 6600 and some W2IHY stuff, and then a Flex 7610, and of course the Taurus amplifier. Now, one of the things that, and I got some other stuff. Oh, you'll see this is just all stacked up because I just disconnected. I got a Mercury Lux under there and a MFJ auto tuner, and then I also have this Palstar ET auto tuner. It's a great tuner. But anyhow, back to this amp. The reason that I liked the amp, because it had 2 inputs for single operator 2 radio, and then it also had, or has, a 4-position antenna switch on it and a built-in tuner. So it kind of eliminated a bunch of stuff. You can see on the walls I got all sorts of antenna switches and lots of wires back there where I was switching around between the different radios and the different amps. And this eliminates all that. It gets my shack more like what I want it. The only bad thing about the amp is the cost of it. It's pretty pricey, and now with the tariffs, this amp hadn't been out real long. He sold about 100 of them already. but the amp when it first came out was $59.95, which for a legal limit amp and a tuner built in and all that it does, it wasn't that bad. But with the tariffs that have been put on, it brought it up to $66.50. So there's $650 worth of tariffs. That was hard to swallow. And when I talked to Richard, he said when the tariffs go off, he will reduce the prices. But anyhow, right now, they are what they are. If you want one, you got to pay the price. So there's an air filter behind here. It doesn't come mounted. You have to take these two screws out, and it's just a little foam filter. I went ahead and put it in just because. And the amp, like I say, it's got, if I get back here around the back of it and show you some of the connections, it's got connections over here for 4 antennas. I went ahead and put the 3 antennas. I got my 20 meter beam, my 40 meter dipole, my 80 meter dipole, and I put my dummy load over here. I didn't know enough about the amp. You don't really have to do that on bands that you're not using. You can turn them off in the menus and it won't let you transmit on it. And then you got the 2 inputs for the 2 radios. Then you got a receive only antenna for SO2R that I hadn't looked into using that yet. Then there's down here in the bottom, there's CAT connections, there's push to talk and ALC. Second CAT connection here in a second, ALC and push to talk. Now, the whole key to these SPE amps is using the CAT control and the ALC. If you don't, then I think that's why you see a lot of people, especially with the MOSFETs, have problems with the amps. Okay, I'll pause that for just a second to wipe my lens off on the phone here. But anyhow, the key to this thing, we'll just go over with the 7610 first. The theory behind using this thing is you put your radio at full power. You put it at 100 watts and you leave it. You don't touch it. Then you come up here to the amp, and in the settings, if you notice here, there's output. There's a power button here, and the power button, each time you click it, it changes from low to mid and then the max. Well, on a radio like the 7610 that has an ALC, working ALC, then it automatically takes that 100 watts and cuts it back to where on low power you can see the meter change to 500 watts. On medium power it's 1,000 watts. And then on high power it's 1,600, but you want to run it at 1,500 watts. So it automatically, if you have the ALC hooked up and the CAT control, it automatically adjusts everything. It just does its thing. The only thing you have to do, of course, you got to go in and set up the CAT control. It also goes, you'll see right now it's showing my flex radio. It's showing input 2. If I go over here and go on my ICOM and just click the mic one time, bam, it switched to the ICOM and to the ICOM CAT. So whichever push to talk you hit, that's which one will switch to the radio, and it switches to the band. You know, when you switch bands, like I'm on 20 meters, I'm gonna hit. There's I just hit 75, so he went to 80 meters, and there's 40 meters, and 30 meters. So it switches automatically. But the key is with the ALC, it'll never overdrive itself. So in theory, you shouldn't have any problems. Now I've only had this thing a couple hours, so. Will it hold up? I think so. It's got LD Mosses. I think they're the same ones, just like what's in my Mercury Lux, and it's been flawless. The only thing with a Lux, if you ever get interested in Mercury Lux, and I'll do a separate review on it, it won't do full power. He really doesn't advertise it as a full legal limit amp, but he leads you to believe it is, and it won't do full power. But that's the Lux. But anyhow, this thing here, what you have to do is it's got memories per radio, per band, per antenna. So, and you can even put with the antenna settings 2 antennas for each band. So if you had one antenna cut for the you know, that's say an inverted V and another one was a vertical, you can put them on here and you can switch between them real easy. It'll do that. But what you do first is you put it in standby, and once it's in standby, then you go all up and down the band. I went every 10 kc and I hit the tune button first, which puts you in the tune mode, and then you give it a carrier and let the tuner memorize that area. And the tuner works great, and it'll do up to 5-to-1 SWR. On some of the lower parts of the band on 75, I'm over that, but I don't go down that far anyhow. So it'll do 5-to-1 SWR. So you set it the whole way through, and then you're done as far as the 7610 goes. Now, if you come over to and by the way, I switch everything with this I+ box. I switch my microphone and my push to talk with this box. So if I go over to the flex, then now my push to talk here is, you'll see when I hit it one time, it goes to radio 2. It switches that quick. So now the flex is in there. Well, the only difference you have to do on the flex ALC isn't a true ALC. So on the flex, you don't use the ALC. What you use is a entry in a table. So you go in for minimum, max, mid, and max, and you set the power on the radio. You get in the middle of a band and set the power on the radio to where it's at 500 for minimum, 1,000 for mid, and 1,500 for max, and then that way you never overdrive the amp. I set it just a little bit below each one of those power limits. And then it's kind of cool to switch power. You just hit the power button over here, and the thing automatically switches. And let me put it in operate mode so you can see the actual meter changes and everything. So that's how quick you can change power depending on what you're doing. That's about it. It's a small package. It's 11 inches wide. It's 5.5 inches this way, and then it's about 15 1/4 depth. I went ahead and ordered the reason I know the measurements well. I ordered a cover for it today from JSE Covers, which is ones that sell on eBay, but I always order direct from their site. So that ought to be here. I like to leave all my stuff covered up and in good shape. But so right now I'm kind of all automatic, where I can just flip around the different radios and it goes the antennas I want. And before, I was having to do all these switch boxes and deal with either a real noisy amp or one that doesn't put out much power. I haven't got this hooked back up. I just scooted the Lux. It's a nice amp too. I will probably keep it as a backup amp, and the MFJ tuner works real well with it. And then of course I love my Palstar. It's the original Palstar tuner. By the way, if you ever go and decide you want to get a Palstar, you can tell the old ones apart from the new ones by these buttons on them here. If the buttons are all one color, and I think they're red, if they're all red, it's the older tuner, and it doesn't have the push to talk bypass on the back of the tuner like this one does. The ones that have the 3 grays and 1 red are the newer tuners. So that's a side note on that. But anyhow, I got a lot of cleanup to do, as you can see now. But as far as the amp, it's fantastic. I'll go ahead and show you. I can put it on. I'll just go ahead and put it on FM and show you. Let me get somewhere where nobody is, and let me click it. Okay, go down here on like 3780 and let me get it. Figure out what I'm doing here. Hang on just a second. Okay, I'm back. I had forgotten to switch this from the flex to the 7610. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't keying up the 7610, but now see I'm on max power and I got it set at 1.4 kW. Let me get up here closer, and then I can hit the power button to mid power, and there's 958 watts, and that's what I got it set for. And then I can hit the power button again, and there's 500 watts. You can change power that quick. It's really cool. And this thing at Dayton, they left it keyed up all day long. It will supposedly handle that. I haven't tried it that much yet. I just don't have enough time on it yet. I just got home with it about 2 o'clock, and it's 7 o'clock now, and I've been sitting here messing with it since then. I'll give you a quick look at the menus. There's you have to have it in standby. And I'll tell you one thing, I was going to tell Richard not to give me anything that had 13 in a serial number. I didn't want anything unlucky. Well, look what I got here. Serial number 0113. Can you believe that? So maybe it'll give me some good luck. I don't know. But I was going to call him and tell him not to give me a 13, and that's what I got, was 113. But the menus, you can see it's got config, and that gets you into, there's 2 banks of antennas. So you can have 2 banks of antennas. You can have a remote antenna switch that they sell. There's a combiner that SPE sells. Obviously, I don't have any of that stuff. Not yet, anyhow. The antenna setting, when you go in it, this is where you give it the antenna number for the band, and then the second one where I say no, that's if you have a second antenna on that band, you can tell it where it is. So that's kind of cool. I don't know how to get out of this thing other than going to all the way to the save. I'm sure there's another way, but I hadn't learned it yet. What else is in here? The cat control, which you just go in there and set the radio, and this one here you have to do the baud rate and all that kind of stuff. So this one, the CIV address is disabled for the cable that I made. And I did make the cables. You can buy the cables from a guy here in Texas, but they're like $80 a piece shipped, and I can solder just fine. They were real easy cables. For the ICOM, it's 2 wires, and it was only 3 wires for the flex. So it's just if you can't make those cables, then I don't know what to tell you. But anyhow, you can see here's some fan stuff. I ain't even looked at this yet. Temperature scale, I did set it to Fahrenheit, and I got the fan thing on management. I'll see what the other choices: contest and normal. So I guess, yeah, there goes. You may have heard the fan go up to high speed on contest, but I don't believe I'm not a contester, but if I was, I guess that's where I would set it. And what else is there in here? I don't know. There's some alarms. There's just a lot of stuff in here I hadn't explored yet, but that's it. So far, I'm happy, except for how much it cost. I wish that these tariffs weren't in there. $6,000 for a full legal limit amp with a tuner in it that'll do SO2RS, not too unreasonable. But when you start getting up towards $7,000 range because of tariffs, it's kind of hard to swallow. But anyhow, that's it. Just thought I'd put that out there. If anybody's got any specific questions, since I normally don't do reviews, I'm sure I hadn't covered everything. The manual, you have to go print the manual yourself. I hadn't done that yet. I've just read it online. I wish they would give a manual with it, a printed one, but they don't. So that's on you. But anyhow, if anybody's got any questions or something they want me to address, feel free to ask. Until then, 7 3s.